Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. It's time, once again, for another depressing dose of dismal Disney. The lower-than-expected domestic opening weekend box office for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania 3 weeks ago, followed by its second weekend domestic box office plunge of 70%, which was the largest for any MCU film ever, wasn't a good sign for the film's ability to break even though it initially appeared that it might break even and possibly make a meager profit. However, following its third weekend domestic box office drop of 60% and its fourth weekend drop of 45%, the film has only earned $197 million domestically and $447 million globally. So while this third Ant-Man film will likely reach $200 million domestically by next weekend, its international box office isn't growing enough to push the film's global box office over the $500 million estimated break-even point threshold. The $500 million estimated break-even point is calculated by multiplying the film's $200 million production budget by 2.5 to account for the 50% of gross ticket sales that movie theaters keep for themselves, as well as the additional costs of advertising and other costs that aren't included in the production budget. Currently, based on how the film's global gross box office numbers are trending, it's looking more and more that its global box office will top out at around $480 million, which if it does, will be $20 million shy of breaking even. The only way that could change would be if there's a surge in overall global box office ticket sales, which doesn't seem likely at this point in time. So if the trends continue, its domestic box office will probably top out at around $211 million, while its international box office will probably top out at around $269 million. Right now, Ant-Man 3 has earned just under 90% of what it needs to break even. So if the film does top out at around $480 million in the coming weeks, it will have earned around 96% of what it needs to break even. So it will likely come very close to breaking even, but just not quite reach the threshold. Since opening weekend, Ant-Man 3's weak box office numbers are a definite sign that the lackluster performance of most of the MCU Phase 4 films has carried over into the beginning of the Phase 5 films. And naturally, as other films open in theaters, Ant-Man 3 has to compete with them. This weekend, Ant-Man 3 took fourth place in overall domestic box office ticket sales for its fourth weekend, earning only $7 million. Domestically, Scream 4 opened to $44.5 million, putting it into first place for the weekend. Creed 3 came in second place for its second weekend, earning $27.2 million. And 65, which also opened this weekend, came in at third place, earning $12.3 million. Disney and Marvel Studios definitely need to rethink their strategy for MCU films going forward. Since Ant-Man 3 is the 31st MCU film, Marvel fans may simply be becoming burned out. But Marvel Studios' choices for which superheroes to base their films on is also a major contributing factor to how much overall interest these films are able to generate. The choices made for MCU's Phase 4 films were clearly not that good, as 5 of its 7 films had an average profitability of only $13 million per film, which includes the 2 Phase 4 films that actually flopped, but doesn't include Spider-Man: No Way Home or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which were more closely related to the highly successful Phase 2 and Phase 3 films. As I have spoken about in previous videos, the average profitability of MCU's heyday films that ended with the last Phase 3 film was $606 million per film. Phase 4 destroyed the MCU's high profitability, and Ant-Man 3 is proving to be a very bad start for MCU's Phase 5 films, even though the first 2 Ant-Man films did well during the MCU's heyday period. How the future Phase 5 films perform at the box office will no doubt prove to be interesting. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to see more of our videos in the future and help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.